Welcome to this video all about 20 different ways to use bay leaves. Now, if you follow me on social media, earlier in the year I did a challenge on how to find 20 different ways to be able to use bay leaves. This mainly came around because I have a huge bay tree in my garden, and I always end up with huge amounts of bay leaves, and I wanted to find ways to be able to use them. And so that challenge really came from that, and this is the findings. So hopefully you will be inspired on ways to be able to use bay leaves, that maybe you've got a bay tree yourself, or you know someone who does, and they're always trying to give you bay leaves, or you have some in the cupboard and you want to find some great ways to be able to use them. So this sort of video really goes along with the downloadable presentation, because that's going to have all the links in it on all the how-to videos and recipes. So you'll need that, because I'm not going to be going through individually the recipes in this little video. So that's why that's downloadable separately, and it's really easy for you to then be able to link to the recipes in the videos. Okay, obviously just a disclaimer to start, make sure that you're not using any herbs if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, or you're taking any medication without checking with a herb list first. Okay, so use number one was I burnt the leaf as incense to clear a space, and this is, you can use it instead of sage. And you actually just light the dried leaf. So all of firstly, what I did is I actually dried all of my bay leaves, and I did that with a dehydrator. And that was because I knew that pretty much every single recipe that I was going to be using dried bay leaf would be ideal. So that's what I did to begin with. You can just dry bay leaves; they will just dry naturally in a warm place. You don't need to do anything fancy with them. They will dry in that way. You can dry them in the bottom of an oven if you want. So yeah, you don't have to use a dehydrator. So the first use was as a tea, and dried bay leaf is great for cold and flu teas. And as you can see, here's a little link to my video on tea making. Now, use number three was as a foot bath. Now this, you could have it as an antifungal foot bath, and it would be great for that. But also, don't forget that you can use foot baths for congestive conditions. And if you don't believe that putting your feet in something will have an effect on the lungs or anything else in the body, a great experiment for you to try is to rub a clove of garlic on your foot, and then you'll be able to taste it in your mouth. I dare you to have a go, and you will see the connection, and it's exactly that connection that we're using there with the foot bath. So now I move on to an infused oil. Here's a link here if you don't know what an infused oil is. So to a video on that. So an infused oil is where the herb, in this case bay leaf, is infused in a vegetable oil, and then the medicinal properties from that leaf is then in the infused oil. So here I'm using the infused oil to reduce inflammation in sprains, so it's great for the first aid kit, and you can also use it on the temples for headaches. So that's just the oil of itself, not actually making that oil into something else, which is the next thing to do. So if you're going to be making an infused oil in that way, there's different methods that you can use, and you'll find those on the video. And bay leaf is really infuses really well in oil, so it's a lovely one for that. And it will last about 6 months really, if you're doing an infused oil. So now I then made it into a decongestant chest balm. So what I've done is I've taken the infused oil that I've just made, and basically what I've done is I've just added beeswax to it. It's as simple as that. I've not added anything else, and I've not added any preservatives. It does not need any preservatives. There's no water anywhere in this recipe. Because I've used dried leaves and I've just used a vegetable oil. There's no additional water. There's no water in it at all. And that allows this chest balm to not need any kind of preservative apart from the beeswax, and it will happily last for easily a year. And you can add essential oils to it, and you'll see that I've added some essential oils to this one, but you don't have to. You could leave the essential oils out. That would be perfectly effective in that way. Okay, so next I made a decoction. And a decoction is where you take your leaf and you actually boil it in water. So not like a tea where you're just covering something in hot water and then leaving it. It's actually boiled in the water. Now this starts to break down a lot more of those medicinal properties and will actually extract them. And it extracts things in a slightly different way, and you're going to get different properties when you apply more heat for a longer time to a herb. So it's slightly different. So you can have the decoction itself to aid digestion. That's use number 6. You can use it as a hair rinse, which is what I did, just for to nourish hair, and it would also sort of reduce oil in the hair as well. As a throat gargle, for sore throats. So that's a good one that that you can easily just make as you need it. And also you could do it as a steam inhalation for congestion. So really easy. You're going to need to decoct your leaf to begin with, because you're going to need to really be able to release a lot more of the oils. And just by putting hot water over it is probably not going to be enough, which is why I've put this in the decoction section. Now, if you don't want to decoct it and you think my leaf is very strong, I don't think I need to, then that's fine. You can just do it with boiling water. But in this just from working with bay leaf, I think it can stand to be decocted, and then just put a towel over your head, over the bowl or pan, if you want to do it in the pan, and then you can do it as a steam inhalation for congestion. So that's use number 9. Okay, so now we're moving into the powder. So the next thing I did is I put my dried bay leaves into my 4-blade blender, and mine is a NutriBullet, but you don't have to use a NutriBullet. Any 4-blade blender will be fine. And then you just blitz it up and it will make this powder. Now the powder, some people think, oh, the powder that you can make with this type of blender is not fine enough, and you could sieve it if you were really worried. But actually, I think it powdered really, really well, and it was actually quite fine for a herb powder just by putting it through into the blender. So at this point, you can make it into a capsule. Now, taking bay leaf as a capsule has slightly different effects to what we've talked about before. So once we put it into a capsule, it's going to be absorbed in slightly different ways, and because of that different absorption and because of the different biochemicals involved, we're actually having a slightly different effect, and that is to aid memory and reduce blood sugar. So yeah, you can that is a way to take bay leaf if we were to make it into a capsule. You could also make it into a coconut oil lozenge for sore throats, and I've got the video there about how I did that. But it's really simple. It's just a matter of mixing the powdered bay leaf with coconut oil, and then just you can freeze it if you want to, or you can just put it in the fridge and just take them as you need for a sore throat. And sort of moving on from internal uses to just external things. So it's not just a great medicine, which it is, and a lot of these are medicinal, but you can use it to make toilet cleaning tabs. And this just uses bicarbonate of soda as the base. So it's usually something that people have at home. And I've got a video on how you can do that. And I also made a washing powder. Now, this was extremely popular on Instagram, and you'll see my link there on to be able to use bay leaf for as a laundry powder. Does it work? And it does work. And I tried it several times with lots of different washes, and it was a really great washing powder, and that's definitely one that I will use again and again. Certainly is that recipe. So do take a look at that if you want to make your own washing powder from bay leaf. Okay. So the next one is as a vinegar. Now there's a video here on how to make a medicinal vinegar if you want to know step by step. But basically what you're doing is you're covering your bay leaf in vinegar and you're leaving it for about 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. And then you can use it for cold and flu. You can just take it as a medicinal vinegar, or you could add the bay leaf to another medicinal vinegar that you're making. For example, if you're making fire cider, which is a type of medicinal vinegar, you could add bay leaf to it. And you'll see that in the video. Or you could just make it on its own as a medicinal vinegar for colds and flu. Or you could use it as a cleaning spray, and basically it's a watered down vinegar that is then sprayed around as a antibacterial cleaning spray. So that's a really good way to be able to use it in the home, especially if you've got a lot of bay leaf like I do and you want to make every single thing that you can. Okay, so now we're on to a tincture. Now a tincture, and there is a video here on what a tincture is, and that will give you information on how to make one as well. But a tincture is where a plant, in this case the bay leaf, is soaked in alcohol, and that alcohol is extracting its medicinal properties and also is a preservative as well. Now, a tincture is probably the most stable form of remedy, because the alcohol is such a good preservative that as long as you're over about 30% alcohol, it will last at least 5 years and really up to 10 years. So the life of this medicine it's a long one in comparison to a vinegar, which really is about 6 to 12 months, which is fine because you're probably going to use it before it goes off anyway. So in the alcohol, we've got as a medicinal tincture, you can use it to aid memory, balance blood sugar, and support the heart. So as we looked at the capsule and the tincture, slightly different because it's extracting slightly different medicinal properties, and so we're getting slightly broader effects in its use. So it does have lots of uses as a medicine in itself. You can also use it as a base for a mouthwash, and here's a video and a recipe on how you can do that, because it's a fantastic antibacterial agent. And so you can make a mouthwash with it. You can also use it as a base for an insect repellent, and there's a video about how you can do that. Right, so another way, and I certainly made this is my picture of it, is to infuse a honey. Now, infused honey is a remedy all of itself. It's honey, obviously, we know is antibacterial and is great for sore throats. And by adding bay leaf into our honey, we're getting those added antibacterial and soothing effects for coughs, flus, and colds, and those types of things. So we could add this honey to a cold and flu tea, and we'd be getting that effect from the honey as well as the bay leaf. So that's a great one to have, and it stores really well. It doesn't go moldy. You can just keep it in the cupboard. So